Well, welcome to Martini time. So I've had a pretty good time today. I had colonoscopy at I think about 10 o'clock, and yesterday I fasted and took a little cleansing, and today I had it's kind of like Ed's Great Adventure. And I hope I discovered something about, well, first of all, the title of this talk is Free at Last, Free at Last. Thank God Almighty, I'm free at last. And since I'm 80 years old, the doctor said I don't have to have any more colonoscopies. And that either means that I'm too old to get cancer, or if I do, I'm not worth fixing. Either one or the other. Anyway, I really had Mr. Toad's wild ride, so to speak. But what I did learn something about anesthesia. Now, I don't know if it affects everybody this way, but when I came out of the amnesia, it's kind of like there is a layer of oil between your self and the world, so the world doesn't rub you. And I was very funny. In other words, jokes were just rolling off my tongue. Either when you come out of anesthesia, you're either a comic or a Zen master. I don't know which one. But I noticed that when there's a slight detachment from the world can be very funny, even hospitals. You see, and so going to the hospital is kind of a spiritual journey in a way. And let me describe what I mean. So, in other words, we live in a secular material world, where we have to create our own spiritual journeys, because we all can't go to the Himalayas and sit in a cave. We can't go sit with the Dalai Lama, and it's too expensive to go to an Eckhart Tolle retreat. So we have to create our own spiritual pilgrimage journeys, and going to the hospital can be one. So when you go to the hospital, there is several ways to go. You can go kicking and screaming, complaining and resisting. It's too cold. It's too hot. The nurse is not good. The bed, yada yada yada. You can go kicking and screaming. This shouldn't be happening. Or you can go in a state of surrender. Now, surrender means it doesn't mean giving up. That doesn't mean, that's what we usually think of surrender as, is I quit, cuff me. That's not what surrender is in a spiritual context, in a Zen context, you see. So surrender means just accepting what is given and working with that. So how do you work with it? Okay, well, I discovered that there are 3 stages in the colonoscopy. There is the preparation part, where they bring you in and they don't fingerprint you, but they get all your stuff. And then the nice nurse takes you back to your preparation room. And I had a nice nurse from India, and we got to talking about gurus and meditation and all kinds of good stuff. And this usually trips off, or is triggered by, are you 80? You don't look 80. And why are you look so young? And I say, medication is my meditation is my medication. And so that starts a conversation, Or else they see my Buddha jade piece, and that starts a conversation. I don't care. But anyway, so the first stage is the preparation, and that's fun. They're getting you ready, and they hooking you up, and they're and then they give you this gown, and you put the gown on, and you get in the bed, and everything is then, all right, now the doctor's going to come and get this thing taken care of, right? But then that's the second stage, is the limbo. So then you have no magazines, no TV, no crutches, and you're just in this room with nothing to look at, and I think I was there for an hour. So, and then finally the third stage is the nurse comes in and apologizes. Doctor got hung up or something, and they wheel you into the finale, and there's instruments all around like that, and you meet a whole new bunch of nice nurses, nurse assistants or whatever, and then finally the Wizard of Oz comes in, the doctor, and then they say, well, we're going to start the drip, and so I'm going to say, I'm thinking, God damn, I'm going to be conscious of this. I'm going to watch when I go. I'm going to be aware when I go out. But I wasn't. So then you wake up, and the doctor's smiling, and he said, and I said, did you find any minotaurs in there? And he laughed, and then and I asked him if he checked my prostate while he was there. He said yes. He said, I feel it up. He said, and I said, okay, well, I get 2 birds for 1 anesthesia. And so then they're going to send the polyp off. I think they're going to send it to test it to see if it's not an alien pod. But anyway, so then that's over, and then then your wife comes in, and I'm really cracking jokes like mad now. I mean, I'm on a roll. I'm like Eddie Murphy, or I'm like Raymond. I love everybody loves Raymond's humor, and so anyway. So then we get in the car and come on home, and so I'm hoping that the martini restores some of the benefits of the anesthesia. But this idea, so what did I do during my limbo period? Well, you should try this now, because this is the second time it's happened to me. I had to go to this little first step or something place because I had phlegm and allergies or something, and it was getting in my chest, and it sounded like I was drowning in this fluid. So I went there, and preparation. Oh yes, welcome, come on in. Put you in this little holding room, and then nobody comes. All right. So what do you do when you're in there? Well, here's what you can do. All right. So. Either in the first holding room I was sitting up, in this one I'm lying down. So you just relax, and you just begin to listen to the sounds in the hospital. You just begin to listen to the sounds without naming them. Oh, like what's that? A door? Or oh, what's that? No. You don't name it. So you let go of naming, and you just listen to sounds, and you can discover that when you listen to people talking, if you relax listening, it sounds like a foreign language. You ever do that? You just relax listen so that you're not, what are they saying? What are they saying? No, that's effort. You relax effort. And your sound, and it's kind of like when I was a sonarman, I hate jumping around like this, but I was a sonarman in a submarine. And there was a big sonar dome underneath the bow of the submarine. This was an anti-submarine. It was an old diesel boat, and it was an anti-submarine submarine. So we were a listening thing. So we had a big sonar dome under there. And so in my little sonar shack, I would be able to take an ear and move it all the way around in a 360-degree circle and just listen to the sounds, you see. Well, now that was pointed listening. I didn't listen to the whole thing, because then you can't tell where it's coming from. But this kind of listening is 360 degrees listening. So you're not pointing your ear at any particular sound. You're just listening to all the sounds at once. And then you relax your breath. And if you want to take a break from the listening meditation, you just begin to rest with the breath and relax the body, you see. Breath. And then you can go back to sounds. And you'll notice that thinking begins to be very still. And if thinking comes in, you can actually notice it like you're noticing a sound. When is that doctor coming? I've been here too long. I'm really getting irritated. When's that doctor coming? That's just a sound. Just let it go through, you see. Because now you have detached yourself from all of the identifications with the world and with your thought and everything. You're just a listening outpost. You're just listening. But awake and aware. Awake, aware, listening, you see. And so that's what I did for the hour I was in there. And it was very, I wouldn't say it was exciting, but I mean it was full. I didn't feel irritated with the hospital. You see, I didn't feel that it shouldn't be this way. That's the main thing. The rub is, when the world rubs us the wrong way, it's because we say it should not be this way. It should be different. I should be waited on right away. I should not have to wait here. And that's the rub, you see. But the practice of surrender is helpful when you have something to surrender to, like sound, like body feelings, sensations in the body, the breath. And so when you surrender to sound, sensations, breath, you're letting thought go. And it's the thought that's the rub. The hospital is not the rub. It's the thought that the hospital is rubbing you the wrong way. That is the irritant. And the irony is that most of the reasons we go to the hospital is because we're stressed out by the world rubbing us the wrong way. You see? So they look at me and they say, well, why do are you not 80 years old? Well, I'm 80 years old and I don't look old because the world doesn't rub me the wrong way. I embrace the wait. So I'm waiting in the hospital for an hour? In a room with nothing interesting? I embrace it. It can't be different than this. It could be, but that would be if I imagine it's different. And if I imagine it could be different, now I've got a rub. And the rub is between my thought that it should be different and what it is. And this creates fire, stress, irritation, and hospitalization. You see? The rub of the thought of what the world should be, what you should be, what I should be, what Trump should be, what Hillary should be, what everybody, anything, everywhere should be, and then you got what is. And when you put these two together, boom. It's like Boy Scouts rubbing sticks. You're going to get stress. You're going to get irritation. You're going to get stress disorders. Your face is going to wrinkle and fall apart. You see. And you're going to go to the hospital. And the doctor won't fix your rub. He'll just treat the body. A lot of feeling in the hospital is kind of like a body shop, that you go in there and you say, here's my body. And they put you on a gurney and they run you through the pit stop. And the mechanics come out there and they're digging and working, you see. So there's a great wisdom in surrender when you're in a situation that you can't control. And all of the stress and irritation and anger comes today because we're in a situation we can't control. The cat poops on the floor. Oh, damn. Well, you can't control the cat, right? So there was great. There's a lot of wisdom in everyday mind. This is what Zen means when it says everyday mind is enlightenment. It means that everyday mind contains the potential for insight. For awakening is insight. Oh. And awakening means free at last from the stress of the world, free at last from the rubs that rub me the wrong way, free at last from karma. What is karma but the continuation of the irritation with the rubs of the world against me and my idea of it should not be this way, you see. That's a very crucial awareness or realization. The realization that the world has to be this way. It cannot be any different than it is. You can imagine it. Oh yes. That's the curse of imagination. The blessing of imagination is that you can imagine a new part, a new idea, a new tool, a new poem. You see, but that imagination is born out of surrender. So unless we can surrender to what is, the creative imagination cannot find its birthplace, its opening. So the opening for creative imagination, insight, liberation, freedom, and joy comes from the surrender to this moment as being perfectly what it is. Even if I'm in the hospital lying in an empty room for an hour, you see. It's okay. This is it. I have to be somewhere. I might as well be here. I have to be somewhere. It might as well be here, you see. There's no better place than right here. There's no better place than now. Surrender to that, and you'll be free at last. Free at last. Thank God Almighty, I'm free at last. Thanks for dropping in, and I'll see you in the morning.